this isn't creepy at all. The Garden City of the Anthracite region, built in 1911, entirely out of concrete. It's not scary at all. Well, there's definitely someone living here. I'll avoid that particular domicile. Here outside of Nanticoke, Pennsylvania, was one of the first examples of tract housing in America, what is now known as Concrete City. It was built in 1911 to serve as an ultra-modern housing for employees of a local mining company. The company, DL&W, decided to build model worker housing alongside its Truesdale colliery, which is near Nanticoke. And they wanted to combine the latest technology with the best notions of progressive social thinking. And so these railroad authorities decided to build all of this housing out of concrete. It was built in 1911, and a select few of DL&W's employees got to move in. The rules were that they had to speak English as their first language. They had to be employed in positions of quote-unquote high value, such as foreman, shopman, or technician. And of the 1,700 employees at the Truesdale mine, only 40 would receive a place in this new community, which had sidewalks, electric streetlights, a swimming pool made of concrete, of course, as well as playgrounds, tennis courts, and a baseball field. They used cast iron concrete, which had been developed by none other than Thomas Edison himself. He gave away his patented information to those qualified builders who could work with sand, gravel, and concrete cement. And he suggested that along with the concrete walls, the houses should also have cast concrete furniture, pianos, refrigerators, and even phonographs, something that didn't exactly catch on. DL&W would haul in the materials via railroad that was built specifically around the construction site, and it was there that they would mix the components, sand, cement, and cinders, on the cars. Portable steel molds allowed the company to build an entire two-family house in a single day. On this 39-acre tract, 20 houses were built, most of which still stand because of how robust the construction was. Each half of the double structure, rented for $8 a month, had 7 rooms, including a living room, dining room, and kitchen downstairs, with 4 bedrooms above it. Between the living and the dining rooms was a coal stove that would provide heat, and a coal cook stove in the kitchen, and for bathrooms they used concrete outhouses in the rear of each house. Some of the first people to move in included the chief of the power plant, James McGuire, as well as the chief clerk of the colliery, Anthony Early, and the fire bosses, the head electricians, and then the foreman in charge of all surface operations were also among the lucky few who got to move in. With construction starting in 1911, it wasn't until 1913 that the first residents moved in, and during that time the colliery produced more than 1 million tons of anthracite and was considered the only operation in the anthracite coal fields that has shipped to market over 1 million tons of coal in 2 successive years. That concrete pool would end up being drained after a boy drowned in it in 1914, so that didn't last very long, certainly not as long as these houses have. And the one thing about building structures out of concrete is you're going to have an issue with moisture. They attempted to counter this with different ways, including adding coal cinders and crude oil to the building material in order to inhibit that moisture absorption. But even still, the interior walls would drip with condensation. In fact, one girl that lived here as a child remembered her father's shirts freezing in the wintertime in the upstairs closet and her mother having to iron them every morning just so he could wear something. By 1920, the paint and the plaster were peeling from the walls. DL&W coal properties would get taken over by the Glen Alden Coal Company in 1921. In 1924, the local government required the Glen Alden Coal Company to install a sewer system in place of their outhouses. And the owner calculated that this would cost around $200,000, and instead decided to demolish the complex. By 1924, 11 years after its construction, the whole town was abandoned. Demolition began in December of 1924, and according to the Glen Alden Coal Company officials, over 100 sticks of dynamite had little impact on the buildings, and so the company simply abandoned the complex. In later years, the local county volunteer firemen's association would use it as a training center. Some of them still show fire damage to this day. Eventually, it would be bought by the 11th Congressional District Heavy Equipment Center with the intent to demolish it. But in 1998, the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission declared Concrete City a historic site. And because of that designation, they all still stand today. Well, most of them. It's certainly tough to get rid of them if dynamite's not going to do the trick. Of course, you could bulldoze them, but they don't seem to pose too much of a threat out here. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. If you enjoyed that, check out these other videos about abandoned places you might find interesting. Usually I would tell you to get lost, but some people don't really like that, so have a great day.